Winter has always been Russia's secret weapon, but this time, something strange is happening. As temperatures drop across the battlefield, analysts are questioning whether the cold is helping Moscow or quietly sabotaging its own war plans. Frozen vehicles, exhausted troops, and delayed supply lines are raising one critical question. Has General Winter turned against Russia itself? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear could change how you see this war entirely. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most unexpected twists in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, a twist that involves no missiles, no drones, and no generals standing at podiums. It involves something far older, far stronger, and far less predictable: winter. For centuries, Russia has relied on brutal cold to weaken invading armies. From Napoleon to Nazi Germany, history credits General Winter as Moscow's silent defender. But in this modern war, analysts are beginning to ask a shocking question. What if winter is no longer Russia's ally? Reports from the front lines suggest freezing temperatures are slowing movement, damaging equipment, and straining already stretched logistics networks. Vehicles struggle to start, fuel thickens, and soldiers face extreme physical stress. Unlike past wars, today's conflict depends heavily on technology, precision systems, and rapid coordination, all of which are vulnerable to extreme cold. At the same time, Ukraine has adapted, learning to fight in these conditions with Western support and winter-specific training. This raises doubts about whether Russia's traditional advantage still exists. In this video, we will break down how winter warfare works today, what experts are saying about Russia's preparedness, and whether General Winter may be disrupting Putin's war strategy instead of strengthening it. Watch till the end, because the reality may surprise you. To understand why winter matters so much, we need to look at how modern wars are fought. Unlike past conflicts where sheer manpower dominated, today's battlefield relies on machinery, electronics, and constant supply flows. Extreme cold directly threatens all three. Reports indicate that Russian armored vehicles have faced maintenance issues in freezing conditions, with engines failing and hydraulic systems slowing down. Batteries drain faster, communication equipment becomes unreliable, and repair times increase dramatically. Soldiers operating in sub-zero temperatures require specialized clothing, shelter, and nutrition. Any failure in these areas can rapidly reduce combat effectiveness. Analysts note that Russia's military logistics were already under pressure before winter arrived. Long supply routes, fuel shortages, and limited spare parts have been persistent problems. Winter magnifies these weaknesses. Roads become icy, rail lines face delays, and resupply missions become dangerous. Meanwhile, Ukraine has focused on flexibility, using smaller units, rapid movement, and local support to stay operational. Western assistance has included cold weather gear and training designed specifically for winter combat. This contrast is crucial. Winter no longer affects both sides equally. Instead, it punishes whoever is less adaptable. Military experts argue that modern winter warfare rewards preparation, not reputation. The assumption that cold automatically favors Russia may be outdated. In fact, the very environment once seen as Moscow's shield could now be exposing structural weaknesses in its war machine. Another major factor is morale. Fighting in winter conditions takes a psychological toll that is often underestimated. Prolonged exposure to cold, darkness, and isolation can weaken discipline and motivation. Several independent reports and assessments suggest Russian troops have struggled with morale issues, especially when facing extended deployments without rotation. Winter intensifies these challenges. Cold amplifies fatigue, slows reaction times, and increases illness. When soldiers feel unprepared or undersupplied, confidence erodes quickly. Morale is not just about comfort. It directly impacts decision-making and battlefield performance. In contrast, Ukrainian forces have framed winter as a challenge to overcome rather than an unavoidable burden. Messaging, leadership communication, and visible adaptation have helped maintain morale. This difference matters. Wars are not won solely through equipment or numbers, but through sustained willingness to fight. Analysts highlight that morale gaps can widen dramatically during winter campaigns. Even minor logistical failures feel larger when survival feels uncertain. Heating shortages, wet clothing, or delayed food deliveries can trigger frustration and resentment. These pressures compound existing command and coordination issues. Winter does not create weaknesses, it exposes them. If leadership fails to respond effectively, problems multiply. The idea of General Winter assumes unity, resilience, and preparation. Without those elements, winter becomes an adversary. Increasingly, experts suggest that Russia's internal challenges may be more dangerous than any external enemy during the cold months. Technology plays a critical role in shaping winter outcomes. Modern militaries depend heavily on drones, surveillance systems, and digital communication networks. Cold weather affects all of these. Drone batteries lose charge faster, sensors can malfunction, and navigation systems become less reliable. Russian forces have relied extensively on drones for reconnaissance and targeting. In freezing conditions, operational windows shrink, limiting effectiveness. At the same time, maintenance crews must work longer hours in harsher environments to keep systems running. Any delay creates vulnerabilities. Ukrainian forces, meanwhile, have adjusted tactics by rotating equipment, using mixed reconnaissance methods, and timing operations around weather patterns. Western advisors have emphasized redundancy and adaptability. This technological contrast challenges old assumptions. Winter no longer automatically levels the battlefield. It rewards the side that can integrate weather into planning rather than react to it. Experts point out that Russia's centralized command structure may struggle with rapid adaptation. Decision-making delays can turn minor technical issues into operational failures. Winter accelerates this process. When systems fail, there is little margin for error. Furthermore, cold weather damage accumulates over time, reducing long-term readiness. Each week of winter leaves lasting effects. Analysts warn that by spring, these hidden costs may become visible. Equipment degraded by winter stress cannot be quickly restored. This means winter's impact may extend far beyond the cold months, shaping the conflict's next phase. Logistics remain the backbone of any military campaign, and winter places immense strain on supply systems. Fuel consumption increases as vehicles idle longer to prevent freezing. Food supplies must meet higher caloric needs. Medical evacuations become slower and riskier. For Russia, maintaining extended supply lines across contested areas has proven difficult even in milder seasons. Winter compounds every challenge. Snow and ice reduce transport speed and increase accident rates. Repair crews face delays reaching damaged equipment. Storage facilities must protect supplies from freezing temperatures. Any oversight leads to losses. Analysts have observed that logistical inefficiencies often determine outcomes more than battlefield engagements. Ukraine has focused on disrupting supply routes rather than engaging in large-scale confrontations. Winter amplifies the effectiveness of this strategy. When resupply becomes unreliable, frontline units are forced into defensive positions or withdrawal. This dynamic undermines offensive momentum. Russia's traditional reliance on mass and endurance assumes stable logistics. Winter disrupts that assumption. Military planners emphasize that endurance today depends on efficiency, not size. Smaller, flexible supply chains adapt faster. Large, rigid systems struggle. Winter acts as a stress test. It reveals which systems are resilient and which are fragile. Current assessments suggest Russia is facing significant strain. This does not mean immediate collapse, but it does indicate reduced operational flexibility. Over time, reduced flexibility limits strategic options. Winter may not defeat armies outright, but it reshapes what they are capable of achieving. Historical comparisons are often used to explain current events, but they can be misleading. Past wars were fought under very different conditions. During World War II, armies relied more on manpower and simpler machinery. Cold affected soldiers severely, but equipment was often more tolerant of harsh environments. Today's advanced systems are more sensitive. Precision, guided munitions, digital communications, and integrated networks all suffer in extreme cold. Analysts caution against assuming history will repeat itself. The myth of General Winter is rooted in past victories against invading forces. In this case, Russia is not defending its homeland in the same way. It is conducting sustained operations far from its core infrastructure. That distinction matters. Defensive winter warfare benefits from prepared positions, short supply lines, and local support. Offensive winter warfare is far more demanding. Experts argue that Russia's strategy underestimated this difference. Preparing troops to endure cold is not the same as preparing an entire war machine to function efficiently in it. Ukraine, operating closer to home, and with international support, may hold an advantage. This flips the traditional narrative. Winter no longer guarantees success for Russia. Instead, it imposes higher costs on extended operations. The longer winter lasts, the more these costs accumulate. Strategic patience becomes harder to maintain. In modern warfare, sustainability is power. If winter undermines sustainability, it becomes a strategic liability rather than an asset. Another overlooked element is training. Cold weather combat requires specialized preparation. Troops must learn how to manage exposure, maintain equipment, and operate efficiently in snow and ice. Analysts suggest that inconsistent training standards have affected Russian units. Rapid mobilization efforts limited preparation time, leaving some forces inadequately trained for winter conditions. Training gaps become visible quickly in extreme environments. Simple mistakes lead to injuries, equipment loss, or mission failure. Ukrainian forces, having anticipated prolonged conflict, invested heavily in winter training with support from partner nations. This preparation includes survival techniques, equipment management, and tactical adjustments. Training translates directly into confidence. When soldiers trust their preparation, stress decreases. When they doubt it, fear increases. Winter magnifies this psychological effect. Experts note that well-trained units maintain cohesion even under harsh conditions. Poorly trained units fragment. This difference shapes battlefield outcomes. Training also affects leadership effectiveness. Officers trained in winter operations make better decisions, anticipating risks rather than reacting to crisis. If leadership lacks experience, winter exposes those weaknesses. Current assessments indicate uneven readiness across Russian forces. Some units perform well, others struggle significantly. This inconsistency complicates coordination and planning. Winter does not forgive inconsistency. It punishes it. Over time, this creates operational imbalance. Commanders must compensate for weak units, limiting strategic options. Winter turns preparation into a decisive factor, and preparation is uneven. International perception also plays a role. Winter setbacks influence diplomatic calculations and public narratives. If Russia appears weakened by conditions it once mastered, confidence in its military capability erodes. Analysts monitor not just battlefield outcomes but also symbolic moments. Images of stalled vehicles or struggling troops shape global opinion. These perceptions affect support decisions, sanctions, and negotiations. Ukraine benefits from demonstrating resilience under harsh conditions. It reinforces the narrative of determination and adaptability. Winter, therefore, becomes part of the information battlefield. Russia's leadership has historically emphasized endurance and resilience. If winter highlights vulnerabilities instead, that message weakens. Experts suggest that perception gaps can have real consequences. Allies and adversaries adjust strategies based on perceived strength. Winter-induced difficulties may encourage increased support for Ukraine. They may also pressure Russia to reconsider timelines and objectives. Information warfare amplifies winter's impact. Every logistical delay or equipment failure becomes part of a larger story. Managing that narrative is challenging. Cold weather offers little room for staged success. Nature does not cooperate with messaging. Analysts argue that this unpredictability favors the more transparent and adaptable side. When expectations are modest, resilience looks impressive. When expectations are high, struggle looks like failure. Winter magnifies these contrasts. It is not just a physical force, but a psychological and political one. Its influence extends far beyond the battlefield. Looking ahead, the long-term effects of winter may shape the next phase of the conflict. Equipment stressed by cold requires extensive maintenance. Personnel exhaustion lingers even after temperatures rise. Strategic momentum lost in winter is difficult to regain. Analysts caution that spring does not reset conditions. It reveals winter's consequences. Mud, damaged infrastructure, and depleted resources follow. Russia's ability to recover quickly will depend on logistics, leadership, and external pressure. Ukraine's strategy appears focused on survival and gradual advantage rather than rapid breakthroughs. Winter supports this approach. By forcing Russia to expend resources simply to maintain positions, winter shifts the balance over time. Experts emphasize that wars are often decided by accumulation, not singular events. Winter accelerates accumulation of costs. Each delayed repair, each exhausted unit adds weight. Russia's traditional reliance on scale faces limits in modern conditions. Scale without efficiency becomes burden. Winter exposes inefficiency ruthlessly. This does not predict immediate outcomes, but it does redefine possibilities. Strategic planners must account for reduced flexibility. Winter narrows options. When options narrow, mistakes become more costly. Analysts suggest that this narrowing may influence future negotiations and battlefield decisions. Winter's true impact may only become clear months later. For now, it quietly reshapes the environment in which all decisions are made. So, has General Winter turned against Russia's war strategy? The answer is complex. Winter has not chosen sides, but it has changed the rules. In modern warfare, tradition offers no guarantees. Preparation, adaptability, and efficiency determine outcomes. Current analysis suggests that Russia faces significant winter-related challenges that limit its operational effectiveness. These challenges stem not from the cold alone, but from how systems respond to it. Winter acts as a mirror, reflecting strengths and weaknesses without bias. For Ukraine, winter is a test of endurance and coordination. For Russia, it is a stress test of logistics, morale, and leadership. The myth of General Winter assumed automatic advantage. Reality demands constant adaptation. As this conflict continues, winter reminds us that nature remains a powerful force, but not a loyal ally. It punishes complacency and rewards preparation. Understanding this shift is essential to understanding the war itself. The coming months will reveal how deeply winter has reshaped capabilities on both sides. Stay critical, stay informed, and remember that history offers lessons, not promises. If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dive breakdowns. Share this video with anyone trying to understand the real dynamics behind global conflicts and drop your thoughts in the comments below.